All right. Thank you for joining me in another episode of the Janus Oasis. I'm Nola Simon, and my guest today is one of my favorite people on LinkedIn and Instagram and Twitter, Kerri Twigg. And she is also, honestly, one of my favorite writers. And I'm honored to have her here with me.
Well, that feels good.
Well, that's cool.
I'll just replay that every morning as a new mantra.
That could just be your total intro, everywhere you go, right?
Yeah, I am somebody's favorite person on 3 platforms.
Honestly, it's the writing, right? So it's not the platform at all. It's the writing and the stories that have always attracted me about you. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
And Kerri has this wonderful ability to actually model all of the advice that she gives. And that's the other thing that I've always been really attracted to, and the reason why I followed her for so long. And she's in the middle of an amazing pivot in her career as well. She started out as a career coach and a resume writer, and is now pivoting over, still doing some of that career coaching, but focusing more on building of stories and mindfulness.
That's it exactly. Thank you.
And how is the pivot going? How are you feeling about it?
I think it depends on the day. It's funny because I think when you do any pivot or you become a new thing, a lot of it, you might judge the success on sales or how many people know you or some external things. And in some of that, I think I'm doing well because something big just happened yesterday. So I feel good. Earlier in the week was just maybe it's a bit slower than I wanted to, but I decided to change the way I was assessing the transition. And it became more adding another check mark to my habit journal, which is, did I show up as this revised me today? Because that's all I can do. Did I show up? Did I fall back to old patterns and talk about things that I don't want to talk about?
Yep.
Or did I show up how I want to be seen today? And I went, yeah, you did. And every time I can check that, I think I'm being successful, because to bring people along for the story. So in my mind, it's like when you leave a relationship. I don't know, have you left? I know we've both been married forever. So when you're thinking about really leaving a relationship, usually I would leave 6 months to a year in my head before I actually physically or verbally said anything. And I think it's the same in transitions. In my head, I had left a long time ago, but now my actions are actually matching the new me. Yeah. So I feel good in that every day I'm showing up, I would say, yeah, people know that I'm doing something different.
And just so you know, I would totally be Katie Holmes leaving Tom Cruise.
Yes.
And have the lawyers and be out the door, have all the locks changed. Yeah, totally. I fully agree with you.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I think, but not everyone else. The rest of us are Tom. What?
Yeah, Tom had no idea. He was still jumping on the couch.
Yeah, but that's how our followers are. They might be, especially if they're excited about your old work. Yep. They're all Toms. And you're trying to say, actually, I'm over here, but I don't know if this analogy works for the next part, because we don't want them to follow us.
No, exactly. That's right. Honestly, with my husband, I've worked in financial services for years. So he's just, what do you mean? What are you doing? What kind of work are you going to be doing? It's almost like he doesn't know how to explain what it is I do. And I simply, a lot of times I'll just simply tell him, just tell people I'm a writer, because it's like it's catch-all.
Yeah.
And people can relate to it.
Yeah. And then people can, and it's a great segue into what you write about, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So it's a whole identity shift.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
that's
feel
where,
yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I feel that's where the mindfulness has been particularly helpful for me, because it's I have to get it straight in my own head before I can explain it to people.
Your own story. You need to get
my own story, my motivations, how I help, how people logically connect my past experience to see how I would be helpful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And how I'm interested. So I should let anyone listening know we've done some mindfulness training together. So
yes.
What practices helped you to embrace the story? Because this is where people struggle, right? Because it's uncomfortable to figure out what to do next. And it's definitely uncomfortable to step into something new when everyone wants you to be the old because they benefited from it, what practices actually helped?
The practices that I find the most helpful are the practices that shut down the other voices in my head. So Kerri, in case you don't know, is a unified mindfulness teacher. And when the pandemic started, that's where I really started paying attention to everything she was saying about mindfulness. And that practice really focuses on like the sensory clarity, equanimity, which is take things as they are. Yeah. And what is the other thing?
Concentration.
Thank you. Concentration. Apparently I have to work on that. And so really hearing was the most accessible to me. If my house is nice and quiet and I can just focus on what's happening in the house, I can really quiet my mind and really get connected with that. I have a harder time, and we did this last night, where my house was super busy. I had music all over the place and we were trying to meditate. And it's okay, I need to soundproof my walls. I need to live out in a hut in a woods that's hopefully very heated. In order for me to do that. And it's like, okay, the idea of mindfulness is how can you still have that concentration and be able to still connect and reach that level of understanding and build like a bubble around yourself and be able to still access the skills that you're building. Right?
Yes, absolutely. And you get to a point where you don't even need to make the bubble.
I know, and I'm not there yet. And I want to be there yet.
I'm not there yet either.
Exactly. And you can see people getting closer, and it's okay. That's the problem with mindfulness is, right, it's all within you, and you can see other people having success, but you have to do the work yourself. And I find that's actually helpful because it's like an accountability and ownership, right? And so you have to filter it all through your own experience using those skills and techniques. And that's where it's like hearing is most accessible for me, seeing next, and then feeling is last. But feeling, I've found a way to hack, and that's using water.
Oh, yes.
So I'm a big bathtub fan. So I will often try to do feeling meditations when I'm in the bathtub, and just being able to feel the water swirling around in my hair.
Yes.
It triggers this feeling of flow. And I've also learned that it's also the sound of water. So there's something really special about water that really triggers that quietening of the mind for me.
Yeah. I love even that all this, because I think what you're talking about is something that you don't know it till you experience it. So I help people figure out what makes them awesome and then what story to communicate to tell that. And that can be very technical. I can go, well, here's how you start a story, and here's how you hook people, and here's how to add a detail so people can imagine you in the bath, Nola, with your hair whirling and the sounds and flow.
I'm snort laughing at this point because I'm like, I'm not sure that's an image I want out there, but hey, let's go with it.
But there's technical things that you can bring in. And then people are on the call with me will say, yeah, it's great. And they're excited. And then when they actually have to tell the story, whether it's on stage or at an interview or LinkedIn, they're like, Kerri, what do I do about these? What do I do about these feelings? I feel sick about having, to put myself out there. I feel nervous, or someone's going to judge, or I think like that. All of their really surface concerns are what stops them from taking action. So I think if you can do mindfulness at the same time that you're figuring everything out, you start to, you know yourself, and you can notice when your brain is sabotaging you, or it's repeating a story, and you can go, oh, and you don't need to analyze it or fix it or even ignore it. You can just go, oh, that's a thought. When I think that thought, oh, I see this image, let's see. It disappears and you keep on moving through. Yeah. What I found is that when I'm working with clients and we do mindfulness in addition to storytelling, the way that they carry themselves in the world, I'm like, they carry themselves in a way that people go, how do they trust themselves so much? And it's not that you don't have, like, I'm not saying you don't have thoughts of doubtful thoughts, but I think you have a foundation of knowing, of not being in your own mind.
Exactly. And the comment that you had made to me the other day, which was part of a story that you had told, which was you had noticed during your meditation services that practices that you were being kinder to yourself, that you were not judging yourself, that you were not judging other people, that you were just being. And it's like, what would the world be if you just accepted that everyone accepted your skills and abilities and you didn't have to prove yourself? It's so powerful.
Yeah, it changed everything. It changes everything.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I went for a walk last night and I was feeling it because I was focusing on feeling, because it was like minus disgusting.
Yes.
And I couldn't feel anything else because everything was frozen. So I just focused on the feeling of being frozen, with that thought playing through my mind. What would it be like if you didn't have to prove yourself?
Oh, man.
And it's just, you walk differently.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's really cool.
Yeah. For anyone listening, that'd be a great exercise. Even leave the room, leave your workspace, and then enter the space with the mindset of, how would I move and how would I come to my work if I didn't, what's the question?
If you didn't have to prove yourself.
If you didn't have to prove yourself. If you just showed
walked
up and
in
did
the
your
room.
thing. Yeah.
And you knew that you would be accepted for the person that you are.
Yeah. Nothing to prove.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've done, I would say, like a lot of work, like a lot of different things to try and be kinder to myself. So I tried affirmations and tried self-care and tried all of these things. And it was mindfulness training where I had where I'm doing the meditation. And of course you get distracted. And instead of saying, oh, you got distracted again, you suck at this, I'm just like, oh, look at that, Kerri, come back to your object of focus. And I realized just how becoming to myself when I get off track, and then how that allows me to just be more open to going deeper when I'm not scared of my own self-judgment. Yeah.
And it's interesting how I think that's not just for job seekers, but it's because when I started, I was actively employed, and I when the pandemic started in particular, I felt like there was just so much that I couldn't control, that couldn't influence. And I'm very much a person who likes to influence and control. Yeah. And so a lot of people are feeling stuck. A lot of people are feeling angry. And from a corporate perspective, there's a lot of layoffs. There's a lot of things that are changing. There are people who are voluntarily leaving with a great resignation. I have air quotes on that in case you wanted to know. But all that means is people they feel stuck. And how do you get past that? And are you finding that people are approaching you and looking for mindfulness training to be able to cope with that kind of scenario?
Yeah. Yeah, just how to love their job again, or how to deal with the everyday, or they feel, pulled in. I've been calling it surface mind, or surface concerns, which is I had a client and his company just got bought, and he's really nervous because he doesn't know if he gets to stay or not. Although all signs look like they love him. The company loves him. And I think he's going to be in a better position. And he's going to make more money. But he called and he's just, I need to go on a Zoom call. And in my previous company, we never did Zoom. And I was like, okay. And he's like, what do I do? And buy a webcam. And he's like, my boss needs to buy me a webcam if I'm going to do this. And he was spiraling on a webcam. And I just went, stop. You're renegotiating your salary. You're probably going to get 20 grand more. You're getting a better title. I was like, and really, you're going to let the energy of who buys this webcam, really, you're going to allow that to be the thing that's in your brain right now. You're going to give it all this power. And he was like, oh, not happy that I called him out. I went, yeah, you're right. I'll just buy the webcam. And I was like, yeah, you can submit for reimbursement if you want to. But I think what happens is that with work frustrations, old patterns that come, they can seem so important, but people aren't seeing the big thing. And so that's where people are going, I think mindfulness can help me, because the little things are weighing really heavy, and they don't feel like they have the space for new ideas or they don't even know how to calm down enough.
But it's also like that
themselves.
type of story. It's almost like they're out of control. The company's being bought. They haven't had the opportunity to influence all of that. So it's almost like he wants to penalize the new company and hold them accountable for a change that he didn't have to make. Like he didn't have to use Zoom before. So it's almost like as the new company is requiring this, it's almost like, okay, now you're going to pay for making this.
Yeah. And it's so like, and this person is so smart, generous, kind, and that action of being obsessed with this webcam was not true to them. And so it was like, I think that ability to then go, okay, so when you think about this webcam and getting it, what do you see and what are you feeling? And being able to deconstruct it so it doesn't feel as heavy, and you can go, oh, actually, I'm excited about this opportunity because I get to do the things that I want.
It's almost an ability to shift the perspective from like the macro to from the micro to the macro.
To the macro, yeah. Because it's the micro stuff that's affecting people at work.
Exactly. That's right.
And stopping them, because all your energy is on that stuff, stopping them from growing and developing and coming up with innovative ideas, or even learning to love what is, because all their time is spent on these little things that don't really matter, right?
I know. Yeah. Every time we talk, I replay things, and it's just, okay, what would that have been? How would that have been different if I'd made different choices? And it doesn't matter anymore, but you take that with you into new scenarios, and it's like, okay, you recognize the behavior.
Yes.
Recognize the behavior, and it's just a new way of perceiving yourself.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Perfect. And if you are interested in Kerri's services, you can find her at Career Stories Kerri. I read something that I thought was amazing this morning. Kerri has also written a book about careers and how to use stories about that. And this woman wrote this lovely post basically saying that Kerri's book was her favorite book that she had read all year. That's very cool. It was mine too.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. This is great. Thank you.
So would you write another book?
I write another book.
Minds. Would you write another book?
I have no interest in writing another nonfiction book.
Ah, cool. So this is another pivot.
Yeah. I don't have an interest in writing. Like I was like, I did nonfiction. It's fine. I'm proud of the book. It's everything I know about careers and stories and transitions is in one place. And I think the book was in a way like a parting gift. Right. Like I knew writing it that I was going to be leaving this work. And I was like, well, just write everything. So if someone asks you and you never want to do this work, you can just send them the book, or other people who want to pick this up can learn how to do it. So I feel like it was a parting gift. Like you leave a note when you leave a job. About mine were always intense binders and be like, girl, make sure you reach out to all the little nitty gritty. Mine were like control binders. That's what I feel like the book is.
Oh, okay. It's almost like a symbol, like a ceremony and a symbol.
Oh yeah.
That you're packaging it up to gift it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
everyone
cool.
wants to know. And I think that if you're going to write a book, that's a beautiful way to do it. Because I wasn't writing it to sell more coaching services, which lots of books do. Like people write them in order for people to go, oh, now you want to hire me. I wasn't writing it to get more business. It was like, here's everything I know, right? And for people who couldn't afford one-to-one coaching, here's everything I know. And then I could be really generous in it. Yeah.
And honestly, your generosity comes through in everything you do.
Yeah. Thank you.
It really does.
Does. Yeah.
So what's one thing that you hope that people bring with them into the future of work?
I would love if everyone in the future of work knew, I think if everyone knew and understood themselves without, and I also want people to like not be jerks. So if the future of work, if everyone could just enter it with knowing themselves and where they thrive and how to communicate that without being shy about it, without downplaying it or overplaying it. If they could just say, hey, this is where I really rock, and they knew that, I think the world would be an incredible place. Because I think what happens is that people are led more by not considering what they're great at and liking titles or other power more than actually the skills to do a job. And that's where we get messed up. We have people in leadership roles, or we have people in support roles, and they should be switched. And if people could, and then we also need people who see that in others, able to put them in the right place.
Yeah, I think there's a huge opportunity really for coaching, because in my mind, management is one of the worst places to be right at the moment, because there is so much pressure, especially in middle management, because you're processing all the changes that are happening to yourself at the same time that you're explaining it and trying to bring people along with you into the future. And so I think there's a huge support market for middle managers. And I'm really hoping that corporations see that and offer them that support.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I think I'm just like, just imagine you knew what you were great at, and you're like, and your ideal, like what works for you, and go, I need 2 days of kind of quiet and freedom, and that's at home, and I need to read and research and talk to people, and then I need a check-in once a week, and then I'm really great at like delivering these things. So people could say what they needed, and it wasn't seen as awful negotiations that are asking too much or slacking.
Right.
Could be incredible.
Yeah, no, I think personalization at work is a huge trend. We're used to personalizing like our consumption, right? So like Netflix or Crave or whatever it is you watch, you can customize your whole feed. You get AI suggestions about what's going to work for you. Imagine if you bring that into work, and it's going to fuel your negotiations, but also it's going to put you in a position where you're doing the work that's going to put you into flow, so work doesn't feel like work.
Yes. And the company benefits, like
Of
the
course.
companies benefit, right? If you have people, if you have people doing work, and it doesn't need to even be the work. It doesn't, like, I don't think it even needs to make them happy, because I think there's some jobs where there's, hey, I'm really good at shutting my brain down for 3 hours and doing this menial task. And I kind of like that. And it feels meditative for me. For that, like, people don't have to be in like, oh, this is the most meaningful, joyful work. But if we can be honest about what we like, I know most of the problems would go away, and then managers they could focus on themselves and congratulating other people, and maybe in the right roles. Yeah,
exactly. That's right. Because they'd be drawn into the work that's best for them too, which might not be management.
Yes. Yeah. That's probably the hardest. I think it's the hardest thing I found in coaching, is when I talk to people, we figure out what their super skills are, and they really want to be a manager and director, and they just don't have the skills for it. Like, none of their happiness stories are about it, like nothing, but it was just, but they're completely skilled in something else. It's just not managing other people. And it's so scary that a lot of jobs, unfortunately, that's the only place to go, is if you go up, you have to manage.
Yeah, there's no career path that allows you to get to a higher salary, which is what a lot of times people are trying to do, just because they have family obligations or different commitments. There's no way to do that and obtain that salary without actually managing people.
Yeah. And then they suck at it. And then
we won't go there.
We all suffer. Yes.
We won't go there. At one point, I was using the mantra outwit, outlast, the survivor line.
My goodness.
Yeah. If anybody's looking for a red flag, if outwit, outlast goes through your mind, leave.
Yes.
That's my best advice.
Yeah. Oh.
All right. I think that the future can be a super exciting place. And I think that your work is groundbreaking, connecting all of the things that you connect. And you have such a gift in knowing how to help people find their awesome and just connect with themselves so that they can do work that's going to make life better.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome.
Thank you.
And thank you for letting me be your client. I have always appreciated that. So thank you.
Woo-hoo. Thank you.
Woo-hoo. All right. Now, this is a fan club. If you want to know how to reach Kerri, I will make sure that in the show notes, we've got her website, her book. What else do we need to put there? Her LinkedIn, her Twitter, her Instagram. And we'll just make sure that you know how to contact her in all the ways. So, all right. Thank you. And I will wish you a happy day.
Yes, you too. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.